No problem. We actually waited for you.
Oh,
Breaking our normal course of action.
and give me just 1 second to pull stuff up. I was just in an interview that ran a little bit long, and I need to get situated.
Cool. Well, I'll start.
Okay.
And we're recording this.
Perfect.
This call is about monitoring and where we're going with that. And I want to start off I think I recently saw a great increase in velocity in the amount of features we're shipping. I can think of a couple of reasons for that, but less important what the reasons are. It's great that that's happening. So it's awesome. I'm happy. I think we're doing great. I love the plans for 12.2. I thought they very ambitious, all seemed like useful things. I got a couple of things I want to talk about in the call. I'm talk about using Elasticsearch versus Loki for aggregate logging, or maybe something else if there's something else. I want to talk about the maturity we have listed now. I think it's listed at year 3. Majority of users don't work at GitLab, but I think we're still at year 1. It's not even used at GitLab itself. Monitoring out of the box, I think we got to make sure that when people push code, everything works in monitoring wise. I want to discuss something that maybe not public, so let's skip that one, move to the end if we have time. I want to talk a bit about tracing, what an iteration could do there.
Cool. Should we start with Elasticsearch and Loki? And maybe before we start, I sent some documents that we talked about in our one-on-one. I was prepared to discuss and edit those documents in this if it's more about a free-form discussion, that then I can take the notes and propose changes to those documents. That works.
Yeah, and maybe there's no changes. Maybe this is just wrapping my brain around it. Monitoring has my special attention for a couple of reasons. It's an enormous market, and it's something where I think we're a bit behind where we wanted to be compared to when we started. But that's also because it's very, very hard. So not necessarily a super bad thing, but we got to make sure we go as fast as we possibly can. Yeah, Elasticsearch versus Loki, we need to get to some form of aggregate logging. I think right now our logging thing is you can log into the container and view the logs there, but I think in many scenarios you need to search across logs from different containers, and you don't want to keep the logs on the container. So you've got to collect them, ship them off to somewhere, and now we do self-manage, so that somewhere has to be something open source. Elasticsearch does kind of index on write, consumes a lot of compute. There's also maybe the industry is going towards index on read. That's more how they're not called. I'm blanking on the name. A $15 billion company that does logging and SIEM security.
Splunk?
Splunk, thank you.
Yeah.
Splunk is doing it.
Use an epic to capture its description, business case.
Okay, there's some.
Mark, you're unmuted.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I'm not sure whether we're ready to make a decision about that. I think Elasticsearch has a lot of it going for it. We use it for repo search. We use it for auto suggest. It's kind of the default way to log things nowadays. It's the default way to do SIEM security and event management.
Yeah.
So
it seems like the boring solution.
Yeah.
And it seems like the most two-way doorish.
Yep.
I agree. I think there is an evaluation issue. There are a series of issues in our backlog about aggregating logs and displaying log filtering across different pods and containers, but they don't have an engineering proposal on them yet, but we should probably do an engineering discovery to get headed in the right direction.
Yeah, because it feels like it's something like everyone needs logging. So it feels like something that we should prioritize a bit more. Cool. Let's go for that. And I think Loki is a great way to, when you run into scaling problems, like delaying the indexing basically makes sense. But I think we've always started with the small use case and then scale later. And although that's very painful, I think it's always served as well. I think like it's the principle behind the innovator's dilemma. So let's not optimize for scale too soon. And let's start with that Elasticsearch.
Yeah, and I am a little bit detached, and I don't know exactly the status of Loki, but my understanding is it's not even out and available, and it seems like the most risky, because I have no idea whether or not it's going to be generally accepted and used. So
cool. Well, let's do that, and then consider this not I'm not ordering anybody to prioritize this higher, but just a friendly ask.
I appreciate the poke. It is important because we have plans for logging maturity increments in the coming quarters, and frankly, I don't have a great plan for what I think it will take for us to consider logging viable, let alone complete. So definitely on me to come up with that plan. I think a first step is doing some engineering discovery and making a decision about how to move forward.
Yeah, so I could imagine something where if you use Auto DevOps and you push your code and it's deploying to Kubernetes, you can search the logs, and the logs are generated on an Elasticsearch computer, not even a cluster or something. It's just one computer that, or one instance that receives that, and it's a GitLab managed app.
Yeah,
something like that. Cool. Then the maturity, Mark agreed. We should drop the year part. Yeah, let's drop the year part. And it's different rates. We're kind of behind. And maybe we can keep the year part because we can say typically, but maybe move it to the end. So just say this is it, and then in brackets like typically year X. I think that helps. But in this case, we're 2 years behind. Happens.
Oh, sorry. You're saying, and I'm getting up to speed on this categorization. We call those stage level categories years, and we should just drop those because that implies we've been working on them for numbers of years.
Yep. I think we should just reformat a bit to like maturity of users work at GitLab Inc. And then we can say typically year 2.
Okay.
Oh, we want to roll this going very fast. So that's cool. I made a list of stuff I expect kind of to work out of the box. I push code to other DevOps. I want to see business metrics, like signups. I want to see application metrics and app decks, failures, requests per second. I want to see system metrics, CPU, memory, disk. I want to have some alerts that fire automatically. So we can use that article as an inspiration. I don't know, Z scale of 3 for, I don't know, failures. No, failures is dependent to RPS, I think, requests per second.
We talked about response rate. If you had a massively out of bound response rate or HTTP request rate, those are kinds of things that would benefit from an anomaly alert.
So request rate, I think requests per second. I think the other things you mentioned are more variable, it says in the article, so they're less good. Automatically set up incident management. So if there's an error, I'm not sure how that looks. And then maybe a graph about the incremental rollout, so you can kind of compare the stats. I think we already have that. Do we already have that?
Yes, we have performance graphs when deploying. Part of Auto DevOps, the deploy stage.
Mark has something about prioritizing the blocking thing, so that's good. This is admin button today, so that doesn't count. And system metrics, we have this. CPU, memory, disk are all shown automatically if I do auto DevOps.
On the cluster, yes.
Awesome. Yes, we have this in cluster XXX. And business metrics, we don't have. Okay, cool. So we got about half.
Can you tell me what you mean by business metrics? It seems like a hard thing for me to know about the application to just inspection in Auto DevOps.
I think many apps have a URL that ends in something like sign up, and we can look at post requests to that page and then what comes back with success.
Ah, cool.
That's just making this up as we go along, but I think we should just get a bit more ambitious about it.
Cool.
Might work on only 50% of the instances, but then at least it's an easy for a user to kind of add to that or change the regexp.
Yeah. Exactly. I love the idea of starting with something, just so that they're like, oh, great, clone this, make it 5 other things in different targets.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a great idea. And then, the setup incident management, it might not be part of our DevOps, but today you can say, instead of emailing me, since we just started incident management, create an incident, here's the template. We're planning on making that more robust. I agree, it should become part of Auto DevOps.
So it's an admin button? You mean an admin, the administrator of the instance?
Correct.
So that's not for Auto DevOps, right? That's
sorry, no, it is. I'm gonna go look at our docs. No, sorry, it's in the monitoring setup of each project. Sorry, I'm getting the deep link to this Prometheus integration docs page. This one. So in setting operations incidents, you can choose whether to create issues rather than email.
Okay, I think that should be the default.
Yeah, I agree.
It is the default after 12.1, I believe.
Well, that's pretty cool. We've come a long way. I think feature-wise, we're actually doing pretty good. So I think if I have to kind of highlight a priority, it would be to use our own stuff. We've seen with Geo, we've seen with Elasticsearch, there are like 30 issues that are really bad, and we just only tackle them when we start using our own stuff. And then we get to kind of a critical mass of people using it from the outside. And before that, it's kind of so many cuts that people just give up and just turn around. I think that's what's happening today, where nobody's really using this. It's always been the case. We first have to start using something ourselves before it gets anywhere near popular. So I'm giving some priorities. We made some suggestions, but I think number one priority is get our infrastructure team to use our own monitoring.
And I think they are closer. Sorry, I got a cough. I think they are closer to incident management. Sarah, the PM for incident management, has been working with the infrastructure team on using those templates and having the alerts from Alert Manager fire and create incidents in our infrastructure group. I think the bigger lift is getting them to use metrics and logging and those other things. So I agree.
Yeah, I think logging is too far away. So metrics, and then reduce the goal. The goal is to have them use a single thing from metrics. Let's make that happen in the next couple of weeks. A single thing, and then it's going to be like, okay, well then we need to make sure that we're not monitoring with GitLab.com, the instance itself. We need a separate instance. They have a couple of different environments. But let them work through that and make sure that that thing can trigger a PagerDuty, which we're using for alerting and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's a great thing to dig in. I don't. Oh, go ahead.
Wanted to say, like, let's sync up after this call because my team is partially responsible for some of this, and we can work together.
Okay, perfect. And I guess one other way that I've been thinking about the dogfooding was, it seems like it's a big bite to have the dogfooding be around, you know, CE or EE and like the entire GitLab application, but side applications that are starting to get transformed into being deployed into Kubernetes. Somebody had told me, is it like sign up or one of the other side applications that we deploy, we're starting or close to deploying onto Kubernetes that would be a good immediate candidate for a dogfooding.
Design.gitlab.com is running on Kubernetes.
There you go.
Yeah, but nobody really cares nobody cares, but if design.com is down for an hour,
right,
they're not going to use their brains to like get serious about this. If it's like a metric on GitLab.com, it has to work, and people are gonna pay a lot more attention.
Cool, good point.
So I'm not against it. I think it's a perfectly valid thing, but I think so do that first. But the thing to drive for is at least depend on GitLab metrics for one metric.
All right, iframes.
Yeah, so we're still missing tracing. I think Jaeger had an iframe mode. Then there was a whole bunch of security where people were talking past each other. Like, I think the thing is, if you install Jaeger and do it in an iframe, people are able to kind of inject something in the GitLab interface and might use that for password hacking. The way to do it is like you embed it in an iframe, and above that iframe you write, hey, below you should see Jaeger. If you see something else, for example, a password thing, you're being scammed, and you should press the abuse button right here.
Yeah. I have backed off on pushing for Jaeger embeddedness, waiting for more feedback from users who are using just the link today, and in lieu of other priorities. So I don't know if the thing that's blocking us is the security concern today. The thing that's blocking it, in my mind, is prioritization.
How much work is it?
Not a significant amount. The UX team had started working on some like basic designs, but we could do it with just what you described, throw in the iframe.
I think of all the low levels of shame in GitLab for minimal features, I think that the Jaeger link thing is a high level of shame.
I agree.
So I think if that's one person working for a month to get that out, I think that's time well spent.
Well, let me just, the counter argument is we had that low level of shame because we wanted to test and see if people actually wanted it and used it. And I don't have a lot of evidence that people want it and are actually using it. So. Yeah,
well, it's a bit lame, but it says minimal viable product. I don't think.
Don't consider it viable.
Yeah, the value add was absolutely nothing.
Okay.
Or not absolutely nothing, but it's so minimal, like, yeah, no one's going to use that. Now, I don't think anybody uses anything else with GitLab, but I think we now declared that we have tracing on our homepage. Yeah, we say we have tracing. I think of all the things that are on our homepage, this is the one where should say on our roadmap. This is a bit of a joke. So yeah. I think we should move past the joke stage, especially if it's like one engineering month to get there.
Okay. Yeah, all joking aside, I don't disagree. I have taken some pride in your statements that hey, this is how minimal we consider minimal. But yeah, you're right. It's sustained to the point where it's not really, doesn't shine a good light.
Yep. And look, it's the trifecta. You need logging. You can argue we have some form of logging, although that's the thing to improve. We have metrics. It's actually pretty good, except we're not using it. So there's still 30 bugs we have to tackle. We can do that. And then let's properly have tracing. And I don't think that the iframe is going to be where we end up. We want a single application. The iframe doesn't feel good, but I think we need to get on kind of an experience curve here. And we can leave it at the iframe for a while and then see where we end up. We're going to learn from that.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Yeah, the confidential thing, I think we discussed it in the comments. So I think that makes sense. I don't have anything else.
Can I have one topic that we started in our one-on-one, which is about monitorings. So Mark and I have talked about this. I feel like in other parts of our product, we have great small primitives that are based on our roots in source control management. Like I think of the small primitive of GitLab.ci as a thing that you can source control to drive your CI. I don't feel like we have the same thing in Monitor. We're just starting to move to source control dashboards, but I'd really like to start shifting our capabilities towards enabling that small primitive of I can easily set up and instrument my like observability as code system and source control it and deploy it with the rest of my application. And I feel like we sidestep that because we largely focus on how do I give you the very conventional DevOps, like do nothing and you get monitoring, think about nothing and you get monitoring.
Yeah, cool. That makes sense.
Okay. That might end up, that's the place where I'm going to have prioritization conflict with some of the more do the auto DevOps things. I think of those as our path to get to maybe complete in metrics. So a starting point. So there's definitely some need to get to viable in logging and probably tracing, but maybe next order is getting to complete in metrics.
I think priority number one would be dogfooding. Like, let's start using metrics ourselves. I think that would be the overriding concern, because I think we're now adding features to something that nobody's using. So that's most of the time you got your prioritization wrong if you do that.
Yeah. Okay.
That brings up a good question, because for our own usage, what are we doing for tracing and logging today? And when we dog food, can we focus on just the metrics and like, let's get dog fooding for metrics and maybe even deprioritizing the tracing and logging, because if dog fooding is the most important thing, then that's the most important thing.
Oh, sorry. Did I say dog fooding for logging? I meant dog fooding for metrics.
Well, so whether it's dog fooding for APM as a trifecta or just
metrics.
Yeah.
Look, our logging. Look, I wanted in like GitLab.com, our main application. So we should have it on our serious stuff, because then that's when everyone starts thinking. Logging is nowhere near the scale we need for that, and it's not going to be for a while. Like we knocked over the biggest instances that some of the service providers could give us. So no way that's going to go anywhere with metrics, because it's Prometheus based and we got some ways to scale that. I think we have a better shot. And with tracing, I think we're already using Jaeger, just using it outside GitLab instead of inside GitLab, which is not going to add a ton of value. So I think dogfooding the metrics is the most interesting part. And also then Kenny's going to hear all the zooming functions he's missing and all the other stuff. Okay.
All the zoom things I'm missing, what were those?
Yeah, well, I assume that our metrics are not as complete as Grafana, and Grafana has like multiple lines and handy this and zoom in functionality, re-display stuff and stuff like that. I think we're going to see a lot of that.
And then I'm going to add this. Okay, so those are the priorities we're kind of generally agreeing on. These largely are in the APM space, some in incident management. Incident management will still continue to evolve with our internal users and a handful of external ones who use incident management without using monitoring. Cool.
Yeah, so I like your observability as code, but I think it's not a priority. I think you want to make it more popular, just make it first popular under GitLab. Yeah. That might need observability as code, but that's an assumption. Let's test that.
Okay.
Let's go for dogfooding first and let that lead us.
Cool. That's great.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.